Hi, good day. Welcome to my talk. I'm Naomi Molefe, and I'm going to be taking you through how we source for AI and data science talent within a continent. Um, let's begin. The agenda today will be a short background about myself, who I am, and then I will go into the drivers of the talent economy. These are the considerations that as talent advisors, talent sources, as well as hiring managers take into consideration when making, when seeking this type of talent. And then we're going to look at the adopters of AI talent within the African continent, who they are, what the challenges are, as well as where the opportunities lie. Then I will share some tips on how you can get noticed by hiring managers as well as talent advisors, recruiters, sources, and how you actually can take advantage of a professional digital brand. There will be an opportunity at the end of my talk for me to answer any questions you may have. So, a little bit about myself. I was born and bred, ham and cheesed in Rustenburg. It is a mining town an hour and a half away from Johannesburg on the Platinum Belt. And I have lived and worked in Baltimore, USA, as well as Dublin, Ireland. In terms of my educational background, I have a social science, two social science degrees, majoring in psychology as well as criminology. And then I went and had a strategic management and planning business degree, just so I could better, service my clients as well as the businesses I look after. And then in terms of my professional environment, my professional background, I started off in research psychology, and then I moved into the business side of looking for C-suite talent as a headhunter consultant. That was board as well as ESCO level skills. And I've headhunted for businesses on the continent as well as in Europe and North America. And these were listed businesses. So a considerable amount of effort and research goes into finding the right skills for these businesses, because as you may know, the decision makers and leaders at these companies, are able to then derive value for these businesses that they lead. Currently, I am a strategic talent sourcer looking after the strategic hiring effort at Discovery. It is a diversified global business in the financial services sector. I co-founded and chair the South African chapter of Women in Big Data. I also sit on the Global Exco as a member of the team, looking after the whole community. We are a community of 18,000 women around the world, and we are present in all continents, on all continents. Looking at the drivers of the talent economy, at the center of all of this is money, the ability to make a profit out of solving problems for your customers and your clients, as well as the ability to make money from your skills that you have developed and spend a considerable amount of time investing in. So on the demand side, when we talk about this side of the equation, we're talking about the drivers that actually create an environment for business to absorb this type of talent. And on the supply side, it's how the candidates themselves, the labor market is organized, and how they are then driving, the supply of this type of talent. First off, we are going to start with the technology advancements that have been made over the last 10 years, particularly within AI, machine learning, and data science, and how these skills can actually be used to develop technologies and solve issues and problems faced by institutions, government institutions, as well as businesses themselves. These technological environments have created operating environment that is very fast-paced, that requires businesses to stay on top of their game, that require businesses to remain competitive if they are to survive the digital revolution. And then there are other market forces that require businesses to obviously remain competitive, staying ahead of your competitors, maintaining market share, etc. Those are also, the key drivers of how businesses and industry organize themselves to be able to better serve their customers, communities, and make a profit. Then there is the regulatory environment. Basically, these are the rules that are set by government institutions to regulate the way we do business. If these institutions are left behind in any type of way, they constrict and restrict the way we do business, and then we are not able to better serve according to the customer preferences that are changing, according to the expectations set by the shareholders, as well as the communities that businesses operate in. So this factor actually is very, very important in creating an environment that is enabling for businesses to be in business. As you may be aware, in terms of the telecommunication space, for example, the ability for them to expand their offerings and products and solutions, they rely heavily on the bandwidth that enables this type of communication between people, businesses, and the economy in general. So the ability for them, they rely on government setting spectrum, creating a fair, operating environment for all the telecommunication players in that space to really take advantage of, the opportunities that lie in that industry. So when M-Pesa, for example, was started all those years ago in Kenya, it was started without a regulatory environment that actually enabled this type of product to operate or to be successful. However, this is an example of how business can also stay ahead of the regulatory environment and how often it needs to catch up to the way people are doing business. And then there's the customer preferences that are constantly changing. The world is getting younger, particularly on the continent. The average African is about 19.5 years old. So majority of the population on the African continent are millennials as well as the Gen Z generation. These people are people who grew up with technology. They are what we call digital natives. They expect a particular kind of seamless experience when they are engaging with your business, either buying products or, sharing with their friends, with their family, how your products are actually solving their problems. So we constantly need to reinvent ourselves and innovate in what we produce and how we engage with these people. It's also very experience-led, meaning that we're no longer just putting products on the shelves and expecting people to buy it. We are aware of the customer, personalization and customization that needs to happen for people to actually feel like, they are valued by your business as well as they're valued by your business. So this experience-centric way of operating has also created an enabling environment for data analytics and data science to really, play a critical role in how we extrapolate insights as well as make decisions from all this data that we are collecting about our employees, customers, as well as the environments that we operate in. As you know, these data sets are quite large, so there's also a need for machine learning engineers. There's a need for AI as a technology that we can use to really extrapolate some of the key decision-making things that we can use to create the products and solutions that are relevant to our customers. And then when we're looking at the supply side, the gig economy is not as prevalent in our market, but it is increasing. There's, especially with COVID, with the layoffs people have been experiencing, unfortunately, they are now forced to take on, their own way of doing business by consulting, being on projects, etc., to really, utilize and leverage their skills that they currently have. And this is now creating a more fluid way of engaging with companies and actually working for companies, which obviously then is a catalyst for how internally the HR teams have to organize themselves to better serve these candidates or this employee base, but to also take advantage of this type of gig economy, gig skills that the business can, leverage over. There's also a need for quality relevant skills. These are skills that are, again, created in an enabling environment that allows business to absorb these types of skills. So for a data scientist to be able to work, they need to be working in a business that has a business model and an operating model that is aligned to the way that data science can, bring value to a team, to a business. For example, the way we collect data, the way we store data, the way we actually mine the data, it needs to talk to what the business outcomes are, which then talks to the strategy of that particular business. So those relevant skills are really hard to find. There's also the culture aspect, because businesses have different cultures, just like families. So finding the right quality skills that matches the culture and the values of your business is very, very critical, especially in these times where people really want to feel like they are contributing something meaningful and purposeful for themselves as professionals, but also for the communities that they're living in. We no longer want to go to work and leave without feeling that sense of fulfillment. So this changes the way we also go after this particular skill, but actually this changes the way recruiters now operate and the way businesses now operate, because we are now aware that employees also want to experience a customer-like process when they are coming in a new business or joining a new team, whether they are coming from an internal team or an external company. Employees have an expectation that we will be using technology because they use it constantly on a daily basis. They have an expectation that the types of work that they will get to do will be meaningful work. There's also a huge drive with the UN and the SDG goals to really be, business people and business leaders that are personable, that are able to serve the communities that they work in. So aligning your business model to the SDG goals is kind of like a way of saying to candidates as well as your employees that you really care about the way they work and how they work, and obviously the social aspects that go with living and working in a particular country, in a particular market. So these are very important because they not only center around one goal of making money and creating value for ourselves as well as the businesses we work in, but also how we engage with one another. We are more aware of the value that is created from the work that we do. Unlike our mother's generation, the baby boomers, who were just going to work, because it was a set career path. For us, it's more of we have more options, we have more choices, we get to know the businesses we join before we even join them, because we can be online on social media and follow the leaders and follow their stories and follow the way they think, their thought leadership. So it is very, very important for employees to feel like they are creating value, not only for themselves, but the communities that they come from. Then when we look at the types of businesses and institutions that adopt this type of talent, you may be familiar with the bell curve, which is, a very famous diagram. The chasm that you see there is created by the environment, the regulatory environment to be specific. So in the regulatory environment creates an opportunity, an enabling environment for businesses to really take advantage of, the technologies, the fast changing customer preferences, to really align to those and create value for the business as well as their customers. So what we are seeing on the continent is that institutions like research labs that are either government funded or privately owned are starting, and startups are the ones that are actually absorbing this type of talent. These institutions are set up to be on the research side mostly. So they adopt, research-like type of skills, which obviously machine learning, data engineers, data scientists kind of like has an element of. There's also startups who are actually set up to produce solutions and products that are, cultivated and developed with this type of talent as the input, into how we produce either software or SaaS-like products and services. We're also starting to see financial services firms increasingly coming to this talent war and looking for this type of talent, mainly because financial services firms are companies, insurance companies, banks. There are companies that are set up to actually collect huge amounts of data. So when they are set up this way, purely because of the customer base they serve. But now they have an opportunity to really hone in on customization, on personalization of their customers, to really serve their customers and stay as close as possible to their customers. So when we're looking at insurance companies, for example, that are adopting sensor technology to put into cars for people to set alerts when they are in an accident, and be able to have an ambulance come to them even when they can't reach for their phones or whatever, or when they are getting hijacked. You are starting to see that the sensor technology, because it collects a huge amount of data, these data engineers then come into insurance companies and are able to mine this data, and obviously create products that are then sold to customers that in a more relevant way, in a way that says to the customer, we actually see that it's actually your behavior that caused certain things to happen, or we have been overcharging you, for example, for your premium, so we would like to align your premium to your driving behavior, for example. So this is now starting to take place in banks as well as insurance companies, and that's why we're starting to see a lot more of them absorbing this type of talent. In terms of the rest of industry, that would be businesses within the mining space, the manufacturing space, businesses in agriculture, tourism. We've seen with COVID just how detrimental, not being able to pivot your business to the new way of actually operating, that, you can literally go out of business within a few months. When the lockdown started in South Africa, we all went to work from home and work virtually. So obviously we are using technology. Obviously we are creating, again, terabytes of data as employees, and employers are collecting this data on their mainframes and on their architecture. So how do we as HR professionals leverage this amount of knowledge that we can mine and actually create an experience for our employees, a safe environment where we can create psychological safety, where we can create, incentives and still manage to recognize people for the work that they do tirelessly. So it's also challenging the way internal teams within businesses, within functions are operating. We're also starting to see in HR teams getting, more on the analytical side, having data analytic teams. We're starting to see, machine learning engineers coming into these financial functions or operating functions, where we can really start to create some magic in the way we produce products for our customers as well as our employees to remain competitive. So again, the pragmatists are the people that can only, start to really take advantage of this type of talent if the regulatory environment that they operate in, or if their business models have altered and aligned to the way we are doing business today, as well as the conservatives and the skeptics. Then there's the getting noticed part. Developing a professional brand is very important, especially in these times, because as you know, we meet people online way before we meet them in person. So it's either we meet on social media or we meet on text. So being able to join a professional network that really is of like-minded people, like-minded professionals such as yourself, gives you that extra competitive edge, because you are constantly engaged in learning. You constantly have that, push to develop your skill set better, making you even more relevant for the changing business environment. Learning communities like Women in Big Data are set up to support women who are looking to pivot their careers and really go into more data-centric, analytical type of work. So we offer courses as well as, a learning environment where you can come and really get into your own. There's other professional forums that you can join that are outside of the social networks, the more traditional ones. Again, those are, environments that enable you to not only develop your technical skill sets, but your social and your soft skill sets, which are becoming ever so important as automation takes over. We will be required to be more sociable and be able to establish relationships and maintain them. And the only way you can start to do that is to get yourself involved in these types of forums, as well as communities that will enable you to develop those skill sets. There's also the branding type of work, what I call the bragging type of work. So this is where you really get out of that corner that you are working in, because it's not a meritocracy. Yes, the qualifications are important. Yes, your skills and your technical skills are important. But if no one knows you and no one can say, I know, the type of work that you do, you're not really going to go far. So the social network, era has created an opportunity for professionals to also brag a little bit about the type of work that they do, to brag a little bit about their achievements. And women in particular shy away from this type of work. I call it work because it really is work. You need to be consistent at it. You need to be mindful of the changing environment, business environment in your space as well as in other sectors. So being active on LinkedIn, following the thought leaders in your industry, as well as industries that you're interested in or disciplines that you're interested in, again, give you a competitive edge. You are able to then, share your thoughts if you are as outspoken as I am, share your thought leadership through creating articles on Medium or on LinkedIn and sharing them with your professional networks. Again, on LinkedIn, there's groups, so you can also make use of that to really get to know people that are outside of the market that you're working in. I particularly like LinkedIn for that, because then it allows me an opportunity to build my global network. There's also an opportunity on GitHub. if you are, on that platform, to create a project and manage a project and collaborate with other, members of that platform, so that you can also keep a sort of portfolio of your skills and what you're able to do, what you're able to create from scratch. This is something that you can use when you are going to an interview, for example, to really, differentiate yourself from the talent pool and from the people that are being interviewed for that particular role. It's very important to not just focus on your technical skills, because while those are very important for business and for, the types of product that we produce, but you need to be able to collaborate and engage with other professionals in your team or outside of your team, outside of your function. The way we are operating now has created a convergence of skills. For example, recruitment and marketing have now come together as disciplines to really collaborate and merge in how we go after particular skills, how we use employer branding techniques and methodologies to attract and brag about a business's ability to take care of employees. So those kinds of things enable professionals within the business to really collaborate and work together. So you need to be able to have those soft skills that will enable you to be a professional that everyone wants to work with. So doing these things outside of your 9 to 5, if I can call it that, because we don't have that anymore, but doing this type of work gives you an opportunity to really develop those soft skills that you wouldn't necessarily have, or develop at a younger time in your professional life. It is a marathon, so when you really focus on the type of skills that will help you remain competitive, you really start to get to see some traction in your career and your development. Okay, we've come to the end of my talk. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope that you do stay in touch with us. You can find us on Twitter at Data Women SA, or you can find myself. My page is _@_Naomi ZA. And we're also on LinkedIn. We have a group, Women in Big Data South Africa. We also have a Women in Big Data Forum, which is the global group. I hope